The Agenda in the Summer with Nam Kiwanuka is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.
It's always been about showcasing this province's vast potential. I'm Nam Kiwanuka. Tonight on the Agenda in the Summer, as we continue our look back at some big debates in this province, one that is ongoing, the fate of Ontario Place. It opened in 1971 with fanfare and excitement. But as the decades wore on, the once much-loved Ontario Place faded somewhat. Let's start by looking back at some of our coverage of this story over the years.
Just to get you into the mood to ruminate, look at the monitors over your shoulders here, and look at this footage from 1971 with a cameo from the premier of the day. Roll tape, please.
Give us a place to stand and a place to grow and call this land Ontario.
It is a stimulating and permanent symbol of the work and achievement of the people of Ontario. The vision and scope of Ontario Place, ladies and gentlemen, gives promise of our vast potential.
That is the gorgeous brand spanking new Ontario Place, which, as we all know today, is in big trouble, in need of a massive facelift, some rethinking, et cetera, et cetera. Peter, those pictures, what'd you think?
Well, I mean, I think it's worth remembering that it was built at a time of serious expo envy. We just looked to the Centennial in Montreal. Ontario thought, well, we need some of that, and they had some prime waterfront land in which they could develop it. But I also think it's worth remembering exactly what Ontario Place was for. It was never intended to be a water park or even a concert venue. It was built as a permanent showcase to advancements on Ontario society, things about industry and science and home life and culture. And just that way of thinking about Ontario society as a project that actually required some sort of permanent installation to give us a kind of a window onto ourselves. I think that's probably even more dramatic than the geodesic domes and everything else that was ultimately built.
Both the minister responsible for this now, Michael Tibollo, and Jim Janu, who is the new head of Ontario Place, the new board chair, they have used words like disgraceful or shameful to describe the current condition of Ontario Place. Would you share that view?
Well, I've had an opportunity to spend a lot of time at Ontario Place just by virtue of our close proximity. And it is clear that the government has not been able to invest in the infrastructure. And so there is some decline in the site. However, I don't think that that is a reason to write off the entire site. I think that there are things that can be done quite easily and quickly to improve the experience and really try to get the Ontario Place site back up to what it once was.
Joe, disgraceful and shameful, in your view?
Well, I think we need to dispel some untruths here, or mistruths. Last year, Ontario Place had 1.4 million visitors. So Trillium Park, which Suzanne talked about, that was a $30 million investment by the previous government to create Trillium Park. The Cinesphere, it's been completely revitalized. In fact, the producer of your show here saw Purple Rain there this past Friday night. And so I have to tell you, this notion that Ontario Place is disgraceful and disgusting, 1.4 million Ontarians, about the same number of people who go to the CN Tower every year, might disagree. Now, that doesn't mean it's not perfect and set up for an upgrade and a revitalization. And so then it's a question of what's your vision? And so for those of us who believe in building an Ontario Place for all Ontarians, the vision has to start with accessibility and the waterfront. You want to build a dynamic waterfront destination. But if your interest here is simply leasing it off to the highest bidder, which I think the expressions of interest might result in, that's where we could end up seeing something truly disgraceful, like a mega mall or a casino or something of that sort.
I want to say something here, very provocative, just to get you going. And
Sure.
I'll play devil's advocate, and that is this. If Ontario Place were so fabulous, it wouldn't have been closed for the last decade. Discuss.
Sure, it's a very good point. Well, if it was so fabulous, I mean, let's say that Ontario Place is like a body, right? I mean, if you start to cut pieces of that body, its arms, like the forearm, to take out its blood, which was its main program. So you had restaurant, you had stores, you had the very famous children's village that was designed by Macmillan, who was the father of soft play. So if you truncate key pieces of an organism, how can you expect it to survive? So you obviously bled him to death, and you expect him to still function. I mean, like my response to you would be that Ontario Place was violated on many accounts by the removal of many programs and several of its key structures. That's the reason why it was not functioning. The reason was also that there was no money that was put in it for its maintenance, and its core value, which was to offer a democratic space for all of Torontonians, especially the ones that don't have access to cottages or to lakes, was completely taken away, because Ontario Place starting from 1984, there were efforts to monetize it, so to turn it into a theme park, which was not at the core of its principles. So in a sense, why was Ontario Place closed down, not functioning? It was because its core ideas were removed and its core programs as well.
And with that background in place, can we welcome from Wolfe Island in the St. Lawrence River, environmental lawyer Mark Matson. He is president of the nonprofit organization Swim, Drink, Fish and founder of Lake Ontario Waterkeepers. And Aziza Shaouni, co-lead of the Future of Ontario Place project and an associate professor at the University of Toronto's Daniel Faculty of Architecture, and who you just saw in that final clip. Hi. I wanted to just get an idea of what you both thought of, if anything stood out for you in that clip that we just saw. Aziza, I'll start with you.
Yes, of course. I mean, those footages from the start of Ontario Place were, like amazing. I mean, it was a revolutionary space for play for children, to access to water, the first IMAX theater. It was a very exciting time. And it's extremely sad to see that the current proposal by the provincial government doesn't live up to that original spirit of Ontario Place.
And we'll get into that too in a few minutes. And Mark, what about you?
Well, I just when I heard the song "A Place to Stand" and a place,
Ontario.
I thought now it's 2021. It's certainly a place to swim, maybe, and a place to grow. That would sort of be my take 40 years later.
Well, this past Monday, the province announced that it wants public feedback on Ontario Place and that, quote, input will be critical to support the planning and development of the site. But first, let's take a look at what's been proposed for Ontario Place. 3 groups were chosen as part of the first phase of the redevelopment: Therma Group, Eco-Recreo Group, and Live Nation. As you can see there on the West Island, Therma will build an all-season health and wellness location with pools, botanical gardens, and public beaches. On the East Island, you'll see Eco-Recreo will build an all-season adventure park with zip lines, climbing walls, and other activities. And Live Nation will turn the existing amphitheater into a modern, year-round indoor-outdoor live music and performance venue. And the Cinesphere Trillium Park, the pods, and other features of Ontario Place will remain and will be reintegrated into the development. So no casinos or condos will be built, and the land won't be sold, and no malls. Mark, I wanted to come to you first. What do you think of this redevelopment plan?
Well, we actually were really excited because for years we've been working on the West Beach, which is one of Toronto's nicest waterfront, deepest, coolest waters, swimmable waters, and yet it's not a beach. And so we've been working there for a number of years trying to get the city and the province to take notice of this area on the West Beach and turn it into a publicly accessible, swimmable beach. The announcement, when Therma was announced, they included that 8 acres as publicly accessible and planned for a swimming pier and swimming beach. So we were really excited about that opportunity. It'll be Toronto's first new swimmable area in decades. It's clean water. It's walkable from downtown Toronto. I think it will connect Toronto and to Lake Ontario and the Great Lakes in ways that could have impacts for decades to come.
And Aziza, what do you think of this redevelopment plan?
Well, let me be honest. I think it's irresponsible and it's also disgraceful.
Irresponsible
and I can tell
how?
you why. Exactly. So I'm going to tell you why. I have 5 points. I mean, I can go quick, but the first one is about the heritage values of both the architecture and the landscape and the infrastructure of Ontario Place. And this stems from the fact that Ontario Place is a heritage for the whole site. It's exceptional because it integrates landscape, architecture, and infrastructure together. So one cannot divide it into 4 parts, hand it to different groups without an overall vision. So we should not be fooled by, a great beach to swim, great, some activities, revitalization, which was obviously needed for Ontario Place. But the general approach to the site with no master plan, with no overall vision, in a way dividing the site is a huge problem. I mean, so this is my first point, and if you want to hear more, let me know.
Well, I just wanted to go back to what you just said, the heritage aspect of it. So is this, in your view, is this redevelopment plan not keeping up with the spirit of what Ontario Place was designed to be 50 years ago?
Yes, but it's also, it was, kind of designed as what we call in the jargon of architecture, a mega structure, which means that it was 3 artificial islands whose landscape were developed in a very, very sophisticated way by Michael Hoff, who's the father of modern urban ecology in Canada. So the landscape itself, with the shape of the islands, with their vegetation, etc., is a heritage itself. So if you're going to build something on top, change it. It's already a desecration of a significant part of Canadian landscape architecture heritage. And I think that to state that we're going to keep just the pots and the Cinesphere, it's truly, like an illusion, because you're just keeping few things to legitimize the overall scheme, where one should have really approach Ontario Place as an entire system composed of islands, landscape, buildings, but also infrastructure, the bridges that connect each island to each other.
Mark, I want to ask you the same question. Is this redevelopment keeping up with the spirit of what Ontario Place was designed to be 50 years ago?
I think it's finally getting us there, because Ontario Place has not been a great place for Torontonians to connect to Lake Ontario. Many people say Lake Ontario is hidden in plain sight in Toronto, and I agree with that. I've been working, for decades on trying to connect us to Lake Ontario for many reasons, because it's where our drinking water comes from, it's when our enjoyment comes from, it's free, and we all own it. And so I think when you go back to the original purpose of Ontario Place, which was to be a summer retreat for Ontario families that don't own a cottage. Anyone who has a cottage knows that there's usually a dock, and you can go jump off the dock into the water for free, and you can begin that love affair, that journey with the Great Lakes and with Lake Ontario. So just to think that Toronto could have a place like that. The islands are like that, but it's a long way away. To go for a run from downtown Toronto, to go out to Ontario Place, and to actually go swimming and go back to work. This is revolutionary. So I think it is accomplishing for Torontonians who don't have cottages, who live in the West End or the East End, or those tourists who come to town and can't afford some of the more expensive activities. This is going to be the most popular place in Toronto. It will be more popular than the CN Tower and the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum put together. So, and one more thing, I don't think we're done yet. I think, Aziza and the groups I have so much respect for, and they fought so hard over the years, and the architectural heritage and the no casinos and no condos. We've made huge strides. Therma was the one that set aside, the private company is the company that set aside the West Park, the 8 acres, to keep the Bill Davis Trail and to create swimmable water. But the province and the city still need to work with Therma to make that happen. And so there's a lot of work that still needs to do to live up to that original promise of Ontario Place being accessible and to the Great Lakes, and connecting us to the Great Lakes in a meaningful way again.
I should add that I don't think it's just for Torontonians, because I grew up in London, Ontario, and as refugees, we used to come to Ontario Place, and that was our summer vacation. But Aziza, you wanted to add something?
Yes, of course. I think that I would like to totally disagree with Mark, because we're not speaking about the elephant in the room here. It's about the gigantic structure that term is proposing, which is an indoor water park. So if you can tell me if any lake in Ontario where one would go to and jump off a deck and swim would have right behind you a gigantic, probably 5 to 6 story high glass enclosed water park right behind you. So I would like to be fair, and I have a different opinion that this is not actually a very I would say democratic access to water or the lake. I mean, you're looking right behind you at visitors swimming inside this gigantic water park that you might not be able to afford. This, for me, would not be a pleasant experience whatsoever. Ontario Place was designed to be a natural environment that would reflect different, environment by lakes in the rest of Ontario. And the current proposal is completely desecrating, like that idea. So even though it's bringing what like a benefit, it's doing so by creating 10 other problems. And I won't even get into the issues that an gigantic indoor water park is doing. This is not best practice whatsoever in any forward-thinking city today in the time of pandemic. Creating a gigantically enclosed water park. I mean, how is this sanitary? And yeah.
I want to give Mark a chance to respond, but when you were talking about the costs, from what I've read, I think the proposed entrance is $40 for adults and free for children under 3. But Mark, did you want to respond to what Aziza just said?
Well, just to add what you said too, Nam, I grew up in Kitchener, and so we had to take our weekly, summer holidays in Toronto. And by the time we paid for parking, usually we had no money for the rides at the X or any of the restaurants, et cetera. We had 7 kids in the family. So the idea that we could have gone across to Ontario Place and, gone swimming like at a Gord Edgar Downey Pier, which they built in Kingston, into Lake Ontario for free would have been amazing. And again, I just cannot underscore, working as an environmental lawyer for 30 years, that connection to the Lake Ontario, that western end where it's so wild and so incredible, the water and the wind and year-round beautiful, I'm telling you, will be the most popular place in Toronto. In terms of the swimming pools and the Health and Wellness Center, Therme isn't talking about I know everyone wants to, and it might be ideological, it might just be pejorative, but people want to undermine Therme from, it's a theme park. It's a health and wellness place that they're trying to build. They talk about art, technology, water, and wilderness. And really, they're trying to bring it all together there. And I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, the pools, but certainly pools are very popular in Toronto. Access to swimmable water is really important. It's a great sport. It's a great activity. People who stay at home and can't go south to the Caribbean in the winter, it's a very exciting opportunity to get down to Lake Ontario, to look out over the lake, see the weather, the water, the wilderness, and also just enjoy yourself. I don't have anything against it. It's not, maybe what I would have chosen in terms of, over the music. I like the music as well, and I love Therma's emphasis on art and protecting the heritage and the property. I'm more excited about the swimming pier than I am about the swimming pools, but I know to each their own, and I think Torontonians will go there as they go to these Therma health and wellness spas elsewhere in the world. Toronto's a world-class city, and certainly this is a world-class proposal, and I think it's really going to be popular, as I said before.
I want to move on because I want to get a few more questions in, and we're running out of time. Aziza, what would you have liked to see instead of what's been proposed?
Well, for once, is maybe to have simply kept the space as it is. I mean, it's already receiving 1.4 million people. It's as popular at the CN Tower. So, Mark, it is already as popular at the CN Tower. And so I think we should be paying less taxpayers' money and to simply rehabilitate it, probably have a vision. And this is exactly what's lacking. Is what's called the conservation management plan, also an environmental, assessment, to have a public consultation from the get-go. Those are, a process that should have led to the proper programming. And I think so. It's not about what I would have liked, but probably which process I would have liked to see happen. And yeah.
Well, you mentioned the consultations this past Monday. As I mentioned, the government announced that it wants to hear what the public thinks. And if you're interested, the website is ontario.ca/Ontario Place. Mark, the province is planning on having public consultations over the site. Will you take part?
Oh, we'll be front and center. I mean, as I said, the Ontario Place is not swimmable. It is not a beach. It is, you can go swimming there at your own risk, but there has been no effort made until this proposal came to actually turn this into swimmable access. And there are hundreds of people over the last few years, including our group, encouraging people to go out there and do swimming, because to show the city and the province that we want this place to be swimmable. And we will be there at those public consultation meetings, promoting and pushing. We've been sampling at the beach for the last 4 years. We have our data around bacteria, E. coli. There are some issues from CSOs in the areas, combined sewer overflows, that we'd like to have corrected to protect the water even more. And so if we can get this, the city and the province can work together with Therma and create this, again, as I say, to be swimmable water, not just a beach that you can, bike around and look out at the water, but something that you can connect with Lake Ontario. Again, this will be the new route for Toronto to understand just how important Lake Ontario and the Great Lakes are to the city. It's part of our history and our culture. And this is a way to get, so many Torontonians who've been cut off from Lake Ontario, who don't even know what an important part it is of the city, to get involved again. And I know we've seen it thousands and thousands of times. Once you connect with it by going swimming, in many ways, you begin a new relationship with the lake that becomes more powerful and literate.
Aziza, you mentioned that the consultations are not happening. Do you wish that it had happened sooner before this proposed plan?
Yes, I mean, for sure. I mean, best practice is to start a consultation at the very beginning of the process. I mean, this question of consultation happening at this point reminds me of the 19th century Europe and Napoleon III, who invented what we call today autocracy by a plebiscite. And this was simply to make decisions and then to ask the public to give their opinion. This is exactly what Ford is doing today. He already decided what the plan is for Ontario Place, what the program is going to be for Ontario Place. And it's simply asking us to say, or for the public to say, if they like this or that, if they like, this feature, but there is no chance whatsoever for any alternative. So this, for me, this public consultation is simply used to legitimize the existing scheme.
Because Premier Ford is not here to defend his position, I'm thinking that he would probably say that this is an opportunity for the province to have a place, like Mark said, where people can have access to the waterfront. Living in Toronto, a lot of people don't have access to parks. People are in condos, so this may be an opportunity for people to have that. But Aziza, there is a provincial election coming up next year. Do you want this to become an election issue? Should it?
Absolutely. I think it should be, because I think that the public doesn't know enough how important the heritage of, like Ontario Place is, the architecture heritage, the landscape heritage. And I think that and also the public is not aware that a proper process that any city today, like that is forward thinking would do, they would do a proper lead a proper process, which is called the Conservation Management Plan, which is a plan that would do studies like environmental studies, social studies, consult with different stakeholders to give birth to a guideline and to a roadmap on what to do on Ontario Place. And just, last small comment to Mark. Mark, I think that one could make, Ontario Place a place to swim, like with decks and so forth, without compromising its core heritage values. And this is really what I feel very strongly about, is that we cannot justify, like the demolition of an architectural landscape masterpiece. And Canada has such a short history, and the little, kind of landmarks that it has, they're going to be compromised, in this case, Ontario Place.
Mark, do you want to respond?
Well, I don't see... we're not giving anything up. I know that Aziza and others are going to do a really great job talking about the architectural heritage, and as we move forward, improving what is currently been chosen in terms of those three partners. And again, as I've said, I think all three partners, were chosen from a bigger list of groups, and I'm actually quite happy with what was chosen over some of the alternatives I heard about. But most importantly, I want to see swimmable water off Ontario Place. I've been fighting for it for decades. I've been fighting in Toronto for swimmable water. The best swimmable water is off the beaches, the furthest away from the pipes and the shoreline. We're not going to have swimmable water in the harbor for years, if not decades to come. And yet Ontario Place is this incredible water and wilderness and shoreline. And I want to move forward and get it done in Toronto. I want Torontonians, especially after COVID, where we've all been home and the beaches have been packed. I want to have more access to Lake Ontario. I want to begin to understand all Ontarians when they come to Toronto, during the summer, have an opportunity to connect with Lake Ontario in a real way and to connect with the Great Lakes again, 20% of the world's surface freshwater. So I'm pushing forward with that. I
But it can
totally
still
respect
happen.
everyone else.
Well, we only have
I
about
totally respect what you're doing.
we only have about 40 seconds, and I want to give you both 20 seconds each to just explain to us why is Ontario Place important to you, Aziza?
It's important to me because it is a architecture and landscape and cultural Canadian heritage of international value. It's important to me because it is a place that gives already access to the waterfront to all. It doesn't need any other additions. It already received 1.4 million people a year.
And Mark, 20 seconds.
Well, it's the place I go when I'm working in downtown Toronto and I want to access wilderness or water or really the beauty of Lake Ontario. That's the place to go. And I've always resented and really became quite frustrated that it isn't swimmable water. And so this is the first proposal to come forward to fix that history that Toronto's had, that it's, Lake Ontario is hidden in plain sight. This is an opportunity to put it front and foremost in our minds again. And I'm really excited about that opportunity.
Mark and Aziza, it just feels as if we just scratched the surface, and I'm sure this is going to be something that we discuss moving forward. We really do appreciate your time and your insights tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Now. Thank you, Aziz.
And that's it for tonight's agenda in the summer. Tomorrow, the ever lively and sometimes bitter debate about what Ontario students should learn in sex ed classes. I'm Nam Kiwanuka. Thanks for watching TVO and for joining us online at tvo.org.
The Agenda in the Summer with Nam Kiwanuka is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.